Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets. Okay, so if you've been even thinking about buying a new TV lately, you've probably hit this common dilemma, right?
Yeah,
You see these massive discounts on the 2024 models, but then the shiny new 2025 versions are just starting to land.
exactly. Do you grab the savings now, or do you wait for the absolute latest thing?
It feels like a really tough choice, doesn't it? Okay, let's unpack this.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we're really zeroing in on those recent analyses and videos you shared with us. They tackle this exact issue, comparing the 2024 and 2025 TVs, focusing hard on value, and importantly, timing.
Right. So our mission here, based only on what these sources are saying, is to kind of cut through the marketing hype. We want to understand the market forces at play, figure out what's genuinely worth buying now versus maybe waiting for, and, ultimately help you make the smartest choice for your budget according to these sources.
Exactly. So let's start with the economics, the basic stuff the sources lay out. The big reason you're seeing those really deep discounts on 2024 TVs, it's pretty simple.
The new ones are coming in.
Yeah, the 2025 models are arriving, and retailers just need to clear out that older stock.
It sounds like it's more than just the standard yearly turnover, though. The sources mention specific behind-the-scenes pressures.
They do, yeah. Think about limited warehouse space. Manufacturers pushing the new inventory onto them, maybe even some, leftover stock from previous cycles piling up. Retailers are definitely feeling the pressure to move those units. The sources actually call it a stockpile situation.
A stockpile situation.
Yeah, there's apparently a significant amount of 2024 inventory still out there, which gives them real motivation to, slash prices.
Which naturally makes anyone looking to buy wonder, okay, should I hold off just a bit longer? Could those prices drop even further?
And that right there brings us to the big maybe factor that this material really highlights. While sure, a tiny extra dip is always possible, the sources point to a much larger economic force that could actually push prices up.
Up? On which ones?
Specifically on the newer 2025 models. We're talking about potential tariffs on electronics and components being imported into the U.S.
Ah, okay. So these external economic policies could hit just as the new TVs arrive, making them more expensive.
Precisely. And that's a key reason the sources argue that right now, this moment might just be the sweet spot for U.S. buyers looking at a 2024 model.
Because the prices are down, but the potential new costs haven't hit yet.
Exactly. You've got prices already significantly lowered because of that inventory clear out. Stock levels are generally still good for the 2024s. And the potential price hikes from import costs haven't really impacted the market yet. So the strong advice seems to be if there's a 2024 model you're eyeing, now is probably the time to act before supply tightens up or those potential tariffs maybe shift prices upward.
Okay, that makes sense from an economic timing perspective, but, psychologically, it still feels a little weird, right? Spending a good chunk of cash on a TV that's technically last year's model when the new ones are right there, doesn't latest always mean, the biggest leap in tech?
That's a really common feeling, and it's totally valid. But the sources, they actually push back on that quite a bit. They make the point that year over year, the actual tech inside the TV often doesn't see a significant boost, not one that really warrants spending, hundreds, sometimes even thousands more.
So we're not talking like going from standard definition to 4K HDR kind of difference.
Not usually, no. Not at the high end from one model year to the very next. The sources describe typical upgrades as, subtle improvements. Maybe the picture gets slightly brighter, or the physical design is tweaked a bit. Maybe the smart TV software has a couple of new bells and whistles.
Minor stuff, really.
Often, yeah. And their analysis concludes that these small changes frequently aren't worth the jump in price. You see, when a brand new model launches near its full premium MSRP.
That clicks. The sources used that great analogy, didn't they? Picture a fantastic 2024 OLED on sale for, say, $1,500. Right. But its direct 2025 replacement hits the shelves at $2,200. If the actual difference is just subtle, you're basically paying $700 more for not much real-world benefit.
Exactly that. The central theme running through all this source material is about identifying those 2024 models that were already great, hit a high bar for performance and features last year, And now, thanks to these discounts, they represent an exceptional sweet spot between price, performance, and features compared to their newer full-priced siblings.
Right. This makes a lot of sense. Let's dive into those specific models then. Which ones did the sources highlight as hitting that sweet spot? What were the standouts?
Okay, yeah, let's look at the recommendations brand by brand based on the sources.
Perfect. Maybe start with LG. They seem to get a lot of attention in the material.
Yes, LG definitely features prominently. The LG C4, that's the 2024 OLED, it's described as a real favorite, offers a vibrant picture, really excellent for gaming, and it was already seen as a worthwhile step up from the older C3.
Okay.
But the analysis shows the biggest value right now is on the larger sizes.
Oh.
Think the 65, 77, and even 83-inch models, they're seeing huge discounts.
How huge are we talking?
We're talking 35 to 43% lower in price compared to the brand new 2025 C5 models.
Wow, 43%. That's massive. So that 65-inch C4 being like $1,000 less than the new C5 the same size, that's a perfect example of that value point you were just making.
Absolutely. The sources flag that 65-inch C4 specifically as a top OLED value right now because, like you said, you're saving $1,000 for what they assessed as only subtle differences compared to the C5. You get truly elite OLED performance at a significantly lower price.
Got it. And LG also has those higher-end models, right? The G series.
Yes, the OG G4 that was the 2024 flagship OLED, it also comes highly recommended in the source material. They called it one of the best reviewed TVs of last year. It builds on the C4's strengths, but pushes brightness even further, has maybe a slightly cleaner image, and top-tier gaming features.
And the deals are good there, too.
Yeah, the deals on the 65 and 77-inch G4s are significant, over 30% off compared to the incoming 2025 G5. But what's really compelling here, according to these sources, is that the discounted 2024 G4 models are actually priced less than the new 2025 C5 models of the same size.
Wait, hang on. You could potentially get last year's flagship G-series OLED for less money than this year's standard C-series.
That's what the sources are indicating, yes.
That really drives home the whole value argument, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The sources basically present it as an opportunity to get flagship-level OLED quality at what you'd normally consider a mid-tier price point, all thanks to these current discounts.
Okay, powerful stuff on LG. Let's move on. What about Samsung? They're obviously a huge player, too.
Right, Samsung. Their S90D, which is the 2024 OLED model, is specifically called out as a steal in these sources. They found that sizes 55 inches and up are currently at least 40% off compared to the upcoming 2025 S90F.
40%? Wow.
Yeah. And its performance, especially picture quality and gaming responsiveness, is apparently very comparable to that LG C4 we just talked about. And sometimes, depending on the retailer and the exact size, it's priced even lower.
So if someone's looking for an OLED, but maybe they prefer Samsung's Tizen smart TV platform or just the Samsung brand, the S90D is the one the sources are pointing to for value.
Exactly. They call it the top value Samsung OLED from the 2024 lineup. They highlighted its stunning 4K picture, the processing power. They mentioned the InQ4 AI Gen 2 processor helping everything look good. Features like Dolby Atmos sound support, the Tizen OS platform itself, AI upscaling for lower res content.
And the OLED basics.
Oh yeah, and of course those perfect black levels that are so crucial for movies and gaming. It was even called a personal favorite recommendation in one of the sources we looked at.
That personal favorite tag definitely stands out. What about Samsung's other big category, their premium non-OLEDs? The QLEDs.
Good question. For premium QLED, the Samsung QN90D from 2024 is the one highlighted. The sources basically say it's the best route to get that top-tier mini-LED performance without having to jump up to the really expensive 8K models.
Mini-LED. Remind me, that's the one with lots of tiny backlights for better brightness and contrast, right?
Exactly. It allows for super high brightness levels and fantastic contrast control because there are thousands of tiny LED lights behind the screen grouped into dimming zones. It uses Samsung's neural quantum processor for great color processing and smooth motion handling. Plus, it's excellent for gaming, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDMI 2.1 ports, all that good stuff.
Sounds like a strong alternative to OLED, especially if maybe your room is really bright. Where are the deals showing up on that one?
Again, the larger sizes seem to have the best pricing currently. The 65-inch and up are seeing discounts around 33% compared to the 2025 QN90F. And the sources specifically pointed out the 85-inch QN90D. Get this, it's apparently a staggering 50% less than the newer 2025 version right now.
50% on an 85-inch, that's huge saving.
It really is.
Yeah.
So it offers that flagship level brightness, color, and gaming performance, but at a significantly lower price point if you buy the 2024 model now.
Okay, let's switch gears to Sony. They always have that reputation for premium quality, but often, yeah, there's that premium price tag, the Sony tax, as you called it.
They do, yeah. The sources definitely mention the Sony tax. It means their baseline prices are often higher, so finding them on sale is particularly important if you're specifically wanting a Sony. The Sony Bravia 7, that's their 2024 mini LED model, is an interesting one because it's actually sticking around in the 2025 lineup.
Yeah.
But it's already seen heavy discounts now.
So that's Sony's answer to the Samsung QN90D in that mini lady space. It's presented as Sony's kind of go-to mini LED, featuring their renowned picture processing, which many people feel gives a very clean, natural image. It competes closely with that Samsung QN90D on price and performance, and right now, on certain sizes, it might even be a little bit cheaper. The sources consider it a really solid deal for a high-end viewing experience with that Sony processing signature.
Were there other Sony models that the sources noted were seeing good discounts, even if maybe they still end up being pricier than the LG or Samsung competition?
Yes, definitely. They mentioned several others worth noting. The Bravia 9, which was their top-tier 2024 mini LED, that one's also sticking around for 2025, but it's much cheaper now than its original launch price. Then there's the Bravia 8, which is their 2024 OLED. It's apparently available now for less than half the price of its new 2025 replacement, the Bravia 8MI.
Half price sounds good, but still pricier than the C4 or S90D.
Generally, yes, according to the sources, but still a massive drop. And they also mentioned the A95L, which is actually a 2023 QD OLED model.
The 2023 model's still relevant. Apparently so. The sources say it remains highly competitive even with the latest 2025 OLEDs in terms of picture quality, but it's priced significantly lower than, say, the new Bravia 8MI, and there might be potential for even deeper discounts as retailers clear remaining stock. So yeah, even with a typical Sony premium, these sales are making some of their really excellent models much more accessible than usual.
That's a really interesting spread from Sony then, depending on how much that processing premium matters to you and what deals you can find. What about the brands often known more for value, like TCL or Hisense?
Great point. Let's look in TCL. What's interesting here is that the only 2025 model the sources actually included in their list of current value picks was from TCL. It's the TCL QM6K, a 2025 mini LED.
Hold on, that seems counter to the whole buy 2024 for deals theme. Why was a 2025 TCL model on this value list?
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. The sources explained it this way. Its performance is apparently right on par with the 2024 QM7 model, which they did recommend last year. But this new QM6K is actually priced lower than the QM7 was, and it offers better value than the higher-end 2024 QM8 model, which is becoming harder to find anyway as stock dwindles. Plus, this QM6K has already seen price drops from its initial launch price. So they called it one of the best bang-for-your-buck 2025 TVs available right now. Because it's mini LED picture, they mentioned impressive brightness, contrast, color, plus being fast and responsive for gaming really punches above its price point. It just goes to show you can find value even in the 2025 lineup sometimes, but this was presented more as an exception, proving the rule.
Got it. So the QM6K is kind of a standout value pick, even among the new releases. What about Hisense?
For Hisense, the sources specifically highlighted the U8N. That's their 2024 UAD model. It's recommended for offering excellent value. Apparently, it's priced well below its own 2025 replacement, the U8QG, and it's even cheaper than the step-down 2025 model, the U7QG.
So, same story again. Sticking with the 2024 version means big savings for performance that's still really good.
Exactly. The sources found the best deals here are on the larger 75 and 85-inch models. They're roughly 30 to 40% less expensive than the comparable 2025 U8QG.
And the tech itself, ULO.
Yeah, UAD is Hisense's term for their enhanced LED tech. It usually involves quantum dots for wider color, strong contrast thanks to effective local dimming, impressive peak brightness, which is great for HDR content, and smooth motion handling. The sources position the U8N as a really solid performer, especially considering its current price point.
Okay, and one more brand. The sources mentioned Panasonic making a return to the U.S. market.
Yes, that was a welcome development noted in the sources. Panasonic came back in 2024. And interestingly, the sources call the Panasonic W95A, their 2024 mini LED model, the best deal right now out of any of their favorite 2024 models on the list.
Wait, the best deal overall? Better than the LG or Samsung OLEDs even. Why is that?
Because it's apparently seeing incredibly deep discounts right now. The sources mentioned up to 67% off its original price in some cases.
67%? That's wild.
It really is. Performance-wise, the sources seem to prefer it over the TCL QM8 and put it sort of neck and neck, maybe a toss-up, with the Sony Bravia 7 we discussed. But with these massive sales, it's significantly cheaper than other TVs performing at that same high level.
What's the tech inside?
It uses mini-LA combined with quantum dot technology. The sources praised it for beautiful, punchy, vibrant colors and strong contrast, but without sacrificing accuracy. Just a really well-regarded picture.
Okay, 67% off. Based on these sources, that Panasonic W95A sounds like one people should definitely look for if they want high-end mini-LA performance for potentially much less.
Absolutely. They also gave a quick mention to the mid-tier Panasonic Z85A, which is their 2024 OLED. That's also on a great sale, apparently. They called it a safe buy that competes closely with the LG B4, but currently undercuts its price. And finally, the top-tier Panasonic Z95A OLED from 2024, described as one of their favorite 2024 models overall, competing with the flagships from LG, Sony, Samsung. The one also has the potential for further price drops as inventory clears.
Okay, that's a fantastic detailed breakdown of the specific models the sources were pointing out. Now, for someone listening, how do they actually go about finding these deals, especially on the specific sizes that offer the best value?
Yeah, good practical question. The sources provided a couple of useful tips there. First, they mentioned checking the specific shopping links that they included with the material you shared with us. Those links were apparently curated to point directly to where the deals were happening.
Okay, so using the direct links provided with the source material is kind of step one.
Yes, definitely start there, seems to be the advice. And then, more generally, they also suggest using online price tracking tools. They mentioned Camel specifically for Amazon, but there are others too. These tools let you monitor the price history of a product and maybe even set alerts so you can catch the sales as they happen and verify if it's actually a good deal compared to past prices.
That's smart. Checking the history confirms it's not just a fake discount.
Exactly. And crucially, the sources really hammered this point home throughout their analysis.
Yeah.
The discounts and the best value propositions often vary significantly by screen size.
Right.
Which is why they took care to highlight specific sizes, like that 65-inch LG C4 or the 85-inch Samsung QN90D, as being particularly good deals at this moment. So you always need to check the price on the specific size you actually want to buy. So really, to kind of bring it all together, this deep dive into the sources you provided paints a pretty clear picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it.
Right now represents this potentially unique window in the TV market. You've got many genuinely high-performing 2024 models seeing major discounts as retailers work through that stockpile situation. And this value sweet spot exists partly because, well, the year-over-year tech jumps aren't always massive enough to justify paying full price for the brand new 2025 models.
Especially when those prices might get pushed even higher by external factors.
Exactly. Potentially before external things like those tariffs could make the newer models even more expensive.
It definitely gives you, the listener, a solid framework for weighing that decision, between proven 2024 performance at a really deep discount versus chasing the absolute latest model at full price. You still have to look at your own needs, your budget, what features matter most to you. But these sources certainly make a strong case for the incredible value sitting in that 2024 lineup right now.
Absolutely. And what's kind of fascinating here, thinking a bit broader based on the sources, is how these external factors, things like global tariffs, can suddenly shift the whole value equation in consumer electronics. It kind of raises an important question for all of us as consumers, doesn't it? How much is that perceived newness really worth compared to tangible, significant savings in your pocket? Something to think about.
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.